A good evening. I'm calling the Trails Committee meeting on May 23rd to order at 7:36 p.m. We'll do a roll call vote. Let me know that you're here when I call your name. Satyendra Sharma. Will Warren.
Here.
Tom McCoolier.
Here.
Kat McKee. Okay. So thank you all for joining. First on the agenda is our minutes. I circulated them earlier. Does anyone want me to pull them up to review, or have you had an opportunity to review?
I'm good.
Everyone's good. Okay. If there are any questions or discussion? If not, can someone make a motion to approve? Pulling teeth.
I move that we approve the minutes as they are written.
Thank you. In a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, let me know you agree. Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Will Warren,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Kat McKee. Yes, great. Thank
Did
you.
Did you start the recording?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Thanks for checking. Okay. Okay, so the MOA, the DCR MOH, so I met with the town council, Liz, today and discussed the questions that she had posed in the agreement, and I've sent it off to DCR and asked for a phone call this week with DCR attorneys and Liz, the town council, and in hopes that we could iron out any additional questions and have that finalized. If DCR can meet this week, then we'll be able to get that final version off to the select board for signature, and we'll be done with that. And then our next step in that process is to create a work plan for the trail, and including the Mass Trails Grant Phase 1 project that we're doing now. So that would be included in the work plan. So that's good news. Once that's done, and it's related to the bench, then I'll feel a little bit more comfortable asking about putting the bench. You know, we can talk about locations where we want to do that, and then we can ask for permission from DCR on that.
By the way, I saw the SOLF, the Southward Open Land Foundation, put a bench next to a pollinator's garden of Freddie on the Beals Preserve, and it's a very beautiful granite structure.
It is. I saw that, and it's dedicated to somebody, right?
I didn't look carefully enough to see.
Oh no, I think it was an Eagle Scout project, so there was a plaque in it. Unless that's, I'm thinking of, no, they did two different ones. You're right.
No, I think the ones that you're thinking of are wood, but this
Yeah,
one is
you're
a
right.
beautiful granite.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you almost want to make a tombstone out of it. It's that beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I was doing I don't want to jump ahead, but I was doing some research. Apparently monuments, the headstones also sell lots of benches. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Okay.
I don't know how much of that would cost though. Looks pretty pricey.
So we've got some ideas to talk about, so I think we'll be able to come up with something like that. So any questions on the MOA? I'm really hoping that we can finalize that and get that. That will be our final permit in place for the trails, which will be great. Okay, so next up is the Phase 1 Mass Trails Grant project update. So we heard from Any Fence that they have scheduled for the week of June 5th through the 9th for the work to be done with the fencing, which is great. And I reached out to Chris Leroy from DPW and asked when they had plans on doing the parking, with that heads up that they were doing the work on that week, so that if they had an opportunity to do it in advance, to just get the equipment in and have a full turn radius where they needed to without having to manipulate around a gate. I have not yet heard back from Chris, but I'll follow up again. So that's great that that's moving along.
So is that June 5th?
June 5th through the 9th. So he said it would only take a few days, a couple days, so I don't know. They've blocked out the week and it will most likely take a few days, less than a full week. I have reached out to MWA Eben Nash and let him know that that was when the work was being done. And I'm assuming MWA will be there the first day just to kind of go over the final specs and make sure everyone's on the same page. So
Does
That's it.
that include the inner gate?
Yeah.
Okay,
the inner gate and the fence around the riser shaft.
okay.
So very excited to see that come to a full circle.
Does that include the, like sort of the not paved, but maybe stone path around the gate for wheelchair access?
It does. We didn't talk about adding stone to make it a path, but
So
it's
it's going to be soil then?
yeah. I mean, if that turns to be a problem, we can address it. But we
Okay.
had not discussed putting a path there. It may make sense to do so depending on how
Well,
solid.
as long as there isn't any, arbitrary random rock that's in the way or anything.
Yeah, and we can manage that too. Okey doke. So yeah, so that's the update there. I don't have an update on the SPAC contribution. I probably should get on their next meeting or something and talk to them.
Our next meeting is tomorrow morning.
Oh, I guess I'm not doing that then. Yeah, I wonder if,
I'm going to be there at the next meeting. Is there anything you want me to say?
yeah, I wonder if I can, if I should put that one pager together to see of, incorporating some of the discussion that I had with Bill Signs and then that you brought to the meeting last week, Will, about, the last meeting rather, about, Braille alternatives using QR codes and such things. So
Right.
let me see if I can make that happen.
Okay.
Next up is Peninsula Trail Phase 2 next steps. So we have 2 more names. So I think that we talked about it. Oh, okay. So last meeting, we did not have the engineering quotes, so we have to go over that now. All right, so. I'm gonna pull up a email. Okay, let me know when you can see an email with a high dollar amount on it. Are you guys seeing it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so this is a lot of money, and it's too high, right? We're not spending $152,000 on engineering services for a $150,000 bridge and boardwalk. It doesn't make sense to try to put a $300,000 project at that location for the use that it's going to get. So I did speak briefly to Greg about task 4 and 5, the preliminary design at 40,000 and then the final design at 65,000. I wasn't quite sure and still can't really articulate why that's different or so high. But what we're going to do is we're going to go out to ask a couple of additional firms. One of them is Beal and Thomas, and there's another firm. I would call it PARE, but it's not. It's PARE, but it's not pronounced PARE. I forget what it's called, how it's pronounced. Anyway, it's 2 additional firms that the town has worked with. And so I'm going to ask for quotes. I asked for Melissa Danza, the conservation agent, to look at the overview that we are providing to make sure that it just includes enough detail that an engineering firm can scope out at appropriate what we need. And she had provided some feedback, but basically it was in good shape. So I'll send that out to the 2 other firms and we'll do site visits. Does anyone want to be involved in the site visit when we meet with them? They'll
Sure.
be most likely.
Sorry, I'll meet with you if I can.
Yeah, they're most likely during the day. And,
I'll meet with you also if I can.
okay. Yeah, so I will try to get those scheduled and in the next weeks, because there's lots riding on it as far as timing of everything.
The,
So,
looking at the quote, $100,000 for preliminary and final design,
100, I know.
that 105, that just seems,
It seems, and it seemed high to a couple of other people as well. So-
the hopeful thing about this quote is that the hydrological and hydraulic analysis and the, it seems like the things that in the field are relatively low cost.
Yeah, they seem reasonable, don't they?
But the 105,000 for the preliminary and final design, especially if we're talking about a prefab bridge, is
Yeah, I'm not sure what the design is. If the bridge comes with its own stamped engineering plans and you put it together like a Lego set, for lack of better description, then what is the design?
Is it necessary to have all the things done? Maybe some parts like hydrological and hydraulic analysis done from them, or we have to get done everything from them or one firm.
Oh, are you saying, can we split up the services?
Yeah,
Different
yeah.
firms potentially? Well, I think there will be other firms involved. For example, they'll bring in someone to do the geotechnical services. The hydraulic analysis might not be needed depending on maybe deep MWA's preferences. So that might be something that shaves, off. And yeah, we'll have to, I'm not sure what to say more about that. So we'll go out to get more quotes, then we'll be more informed. And go ahead.
it sounds like they're designing a bridge from scratch almost.
It feels that way a little bit, because when Bill Fadden, who is Framingham's has a trails committee, pedestrian bike committee, and Bill Fadden was involved in this project from the outset, and he had received a quote from to put in a bridge, and it was like $50,000 or $60,000. So I don't know where all of this is coming from. So we'll get the quotes, we'll come back and we'll talk about it. And I did reach out to Freddie on CPC again and talk to her about the potential of applying for another application. And we talked last meeting about whether could we go to a fall town meeting, put the CPA article in front of the town, have them vote on it, and when would the money be available? Is that an option? Would it be available sooner versus next fiscal year? And I got the sense from the conversation that CPC doesn't, they won't really have all the information they need to make a fully informed decision about the projects they support, because most of the time that's the timeline that people are submitting their applications, and they don't really have a full understanding or visibility into the budget until next, and then they don't know what the state match is. So it sounded unlikely, but we'll still entertain the idea, because they are going to have a June meeting where they ask people with projects to come forward and share their projects. So those quotes, it would be really important for us to have them in hand to understand what number we're asking for, because if we have one shot to be convincing, and if we've already done our homework, then we can leverage that and hopefully not ask anywhere near this amount. But we'll go from there.
This would be an additional grant from whom? Would the
CPA, from
Pardon?
the CPC committee, from the Community Preservation Committee for the CPA funds.
Now, just out of curiosity, let's suppose that the engineering actually came in at 70,000. Let's say, would we still need to go and get another grant?
Well, that's the idea. If we could apply for CPC and they would fund that, I'd like to know, one, can they fund that out of the recreational or outdoor space bucket? And two, would they, can it legally be funded? Can CPA funds be used for this type of project? One, and two, would they be open to supporting it? is the
We
question.
don't have enough money right now, you're saying?
No, we don't have enough money to, we estimated something more like the 8,000 and the 1,500 together. Like that was what because when we first spoke with the VHB, back when we were quoting for the grant, I got a back of the envelope kind of quote. So it was far less than this. We were not expecting this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we'll see. I'm trying to avoid, I don't personally want to go after another Mass Trails grant. That was a lot of work, and not saying it's out of the question, but it was a lot of work. So
Is it possible to go to approach the engineering colleges and then for the civil engineering departments and get a
really
kind of a
smart idea.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Like we might be looking at like who could donate some services to help the project move forward, but I don't know exactly who to contact on that. Do you have any thoughts, Sati, or
I can try. I mean, I'll try.
want to do some research and
Yeah,
bring back to
yeah,
the next
yeah.
meeting, maybe some
Yep.
ideas? That'd be great.
Yeah.
Does anyone know any engineers that we could ask that would have some like insight on what schools or local groups would be good ones? If you think of something, let Sati know. He's our point person.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line though is that we're looking for someone who can take liability, right?
That is important. Yes.
I think so, yeah. Yep. I'd like to understand how that works, the liability. I'm not quite clear on that yet. Okay, so that's that. Any questions or thoughts or feedback?
Did you get any feedback from Tim Davis on these numbers?
Yeah. Couple people thought this was too high. Too high.
It boggles my mind. $105,000 boggles my mind.
Yeah, and I think when I spoke to Greg, he's like, well, there's some contingencies built in, so it might not come out at this, but even if that's true, I can't bring this to anybody and say that and make that fly.
That's 1,000 work hours, right?
I don't know.
$100 an hour, 1,000 work hours.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work hours.
Yeah, we'll go back to the drawing board. All right, so that's where we are with that. The next up is Choate Fund, the 2022 Hike Series Bench and Interpretive Sign. So the good news is we had, and I'll let Sati talk about the experience because he was there. The Wellness Week, we did a nature hike on May 7th, led by Debbie Costine, family friendly, and it was at the 9/11 Loop. Beautiful day. Sati, do you want to share a little bit about we had? About 13 people come, so we had a good little group.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was my first visit to 9/11 Loop. I didn't know. Actually, thanks to Kat, she actually guided me through it. So she was there, and then she left for the other work with the shed. So Debbie Costin was pretty good in explaining, the things around and plants and everything, and she knows a lot about the nature. And we had like good crowd, and they were asking questions, and kids were really getting engaged, asking, Debbie different things. And I saw some places where we could install the proposed like benches, good views and good place to sit and near the water's edge. And then she showed us some good things also that I didn't know, at least about the galls in the oak trees. They look like fruits, but they're actually wasp nests. And yeah, so
Yeah.
so that was something very educational thing. Yeah. And it was a pretty sunny and nice day, so it was very successful.
Sati, thank you so much for filling in for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great hike, and Debbie did a wonderful job, and it was nice to see the kids all curious about nature, and it worked as we had hoped. So thank you, Debbie Costine, for that wonderful hike. Then so we had yoga on the trails the same day, family yoga. And we had a family show up, although we had several others who had registered. So we're not quite sure why others didn't show up. There was some confusion on the Eventbrite site where the description read Middle Road, but then the confirmation all said Parkerville, and then the email the day before that was sent out said Parkerville with a map of where Parkerville was. So I hope that confusion wasn't the reason people didn't show, but anyway, so then we had 2 adult yoga on the trails last weekend, Saturday, May 20th and Sunday, May 21st. It rained on Saturday, so that was canceled. And because of the rain on Saturday, it made for muddy, wet, really wet conditions on Sunday morning. So that was canceled. And we had it was like 13 or 14 people on Saturday and 17 people on Sunday. So we had a good number, and we were capping it at 20 or 25. So we're going to reschedule those. And I have some dates I want to share. So let me stop sharing my screen for a minute. Right, this is where I lose my, hold on. Lost my console. Where did it go? Oh, there. It's this little tiny thing. Okay. All right, let me pull up what Emma said. Okay. Emma. Okay, so we had rescheduled, so we have Saturday, June 3rd and Sunday, June 4th. Now, June 4th is teens. We only have a couple of people signed up for that, a couple teens. So we have to do some more promotion. So we had moved one of the adult yogas to Saturday, June 3rd. Now, unfortunately, I'm out both of those days again. I'm doing wilderness first aid training. Emma can fly solo. She's used to doing registration and such, but if there's a trails member that wants to go to help just set up and say hi, that would be nice to take a picture, maybe from the backs of folks, not their fronts, just to be respectful, to get kind of that. Is anyone interested on the 3rd at 9?
I'll go and do that.
9 a.m.
I
Okay.
was gonna say the 3rd and 4th, I'm also away that weekend.
And where is this? Where is it located?
So it's on Parkerville, right? Are you familiar with Parkerville, the trail on Parkerville?
I'm trying to think, what does Parkerville run past?
It's
But
right next to the Burnett House, the chapel, basically right across the street from the chapel.
Oh, it goes past Trotter as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
But Trottier it's on the same side as Trottier.
Right.
It's down the road from Trottier. Thank you.
Right.
Let me show the map so it's no confusion. No confusion. Okay. So let me put it here for a second. Nope, I don't like it. All right.
So
where is it?
Parkerville runs into 30, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, it's right here. Okay. Right, yeah. Okay, are you seeing the screen, Will?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Oops, sorry. Here's Route 30 up here.
Yeah.
This is where Burnett Mansion is, where I'm moving my mouse. Can you see my mouse moving?
I can see your mouse moving. It's a
Great.
movable mouse.
So you come down, and this is heading south on Parkerville.
Yeah, and there's a trail right there. It goes
There's
across.
a trail here,
Mhm.
but it's
Yeah.
on the opposite side.
Yeah, it's in that area that is sort of
Like a
dead
field.
land or whatever. I don't
Yeah, it's
know.
a field with a rock wall. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. A nice retaining wall. A very
Yes.
nice retaining wall.
And there's parking along Parkerville here because this is athletic fields for Fay School.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a couple signs. Emma has the signs. She'll put them out. And we put them one on this side, it says an arrow this way, and then we put one where, anyway. So I can send registration information in advance.
And this is, what's the event called?
Yoga on the Trails for adults. And you're welcome to stay. Have you done yoga? Maybe this will be,
I'm not really, but yeah, I'll stay and,
I mean, you and your wife could come. Tom was going to bring his wife and you could do a yoga session. You can sit in the back. No one has to see you.
well, I want them to see me so they can call the ambulance if necessary. How long does this run?
An hour.
Oh, okay.
Yes, just an hour. So you can do the 3rd, June 3rd at
9 a.m.
9 let me double check. 9 a.m.
And you'll put me in contact with Emma.
Yep, I will. And we're gonna
Okay.
let the police know that you're gonna be there so they can arrest you. Just joking. They just let them know because, if there's parking issues or stuff, they're just kind of keeping an eye on things. It's a courtesy that we've extended and they're helpful. So that's 9 a.m. and that's Will. Okay. I'll double check with Bella, that she's still good on the 4th
Okay.
so initially we said the 4th at 11 a.m. Okay. So that's good. And then the 3rd date is, the next rain date is Sunday, June 11th. If anyone wants to.
Yes, I can do.
Sati, would you like to be there and do yoga with her?
Yeah, why not?
You do yoga? Yeah, you could bring your wife. Peru. Does she
Yeah.
like yoga?
Yeah.
You guys should be there or be square.
Do they do yoga in India?
No, actually, that's kind of misconception about yoga. It is not just the exercise; it is a full philosophy.
Ah,
Yeah.
Indeed. All right, so the 11th at 11 a.m. that's adult. Okay, so I had asked her to pencil in those dates. We're going to re-advertise again. I just want to share that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
a lot of work to do what?
Just to update the registration page and then to blast it out and then to keep people focused and register people. So it's just, I've done it because next I'll tell you the town forest walks on May 13th that we were partnering with Stewardship both got canceled because no one signed up. So it's just like we've had a lot, I guess we were due. We've had years of good weather, right? All of our hikes have been really done in good weather for years and blessed, right? And so this year it's just hitting us all at the same time. And it's just, I felt like we've done 2, 3, and then there's 4 here, that's 7, but times 2, it's like you're looking at advertising 10 to 14 different sessions, either hikes or yoga sessions. And it just is a lot to continue to promote and to redo the registration pages and update the dates and stuff. So I'm just going to mention that. It feels like a lot. But I'm very happy that I hope we had a good turnout for adult yoga. The registration seemed to be in good order, but hopefully we'll have good weather coming up for these next sessions. Okay, so that was running into the next one, Sati number 8, Planet Palooza Nature Walk. So those are the ones that we had to reschedule on the May 13th. Now, that was Mother's Day weekend, and that was NECEC, the School for Autism. I think they had their 5K that morning or that day, and there was a lot of other activities going on. So lesson learned, never do anything on Mother's Day weekend again. And then watch out for we had to land on that date because we were looking at a reschedule. So we just need to, when we're scheduling stuff, be aware of what community activities are going on. I think Chestnut Hill has a ton of activities, so we may always compete with them, and we won't win. We won't win. So we might want to think about how and when we've done some discussion about how and when we we schedule hikes like focusing on spring and fall and maybe skipping summer because it's hot and people are gone. So again, we might consider this may help us figure out a different approach to what we're doing here, just to ensure that we're serving the community in the way that they need to be serviced. Any questions, thoughts, or discussion on that?
Mhm.
Okay. MAPC, so MAPC, David Lautenheiser has reached out to us. Now he is, I don't know, Will, you remember we went to the Trail Summit last August
Yes,
in Hopkinton, I
Yep.
think,
Yes.
Hopkinton State Park. Okay, that was David. He ran that Trail Summit, right? So he has reached out for an update on the Peninsula Trail and other trails, and he wants to talk about, and I'm just going to read his email. I've met with several communities in the Metro West region and would like to schedule the same for Southborough. The focus of the meeting is to go over the regional trail and greenway corridors in the town and identify the progress and obstacles and ways forward. So basically, his job at MAPC, one of his jobs is to connect every trail network he can possibly connect in Eastern Massachusetts to each other as much as you can, right? Greenway, that's what that is all about. And so he wants to meet with a small group of people. Trails Committee, he invited and included Freddie Gillespie of Open Space, Karina of Planning, Melissa Danza of Conservation, and I included Tim on the email. I don't know exactly who should show up at that intimate party. It's just it's an internal party, internal for town people. So I will reach out to that group and see if there's others that we need to meet. He's proposing the week of June 5th, which is he said the 5th or the 6th, that Monday or that Tuesday, and it is going to be during a work day. So if you can take off work, that's great. If you can't, we'll relay back to you what's going on. So I proposed June 5th, that Monday, that afternoon. He said the afternoon works best for him on those 2 days. So are any of you guys interested and available if we did, like, I think the meeting would be, so this would be to walk the trail and we'll show him what's going where. And we've never done that with him before. And then we'll get to the other side and we'll talk about the bridge and the boardwalk and some of the obstacles there. So I would wager it takes about 2 hours. And so I might propose like a 3 p.m. or 2 p.m., something like that. So a little bit in the afternoon so that some of us who work can at least work in the morning.
what day of the week would that be?
That's a Monday. June 5th is a Monday.
That yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah, and I
Um,
can,
See, I'm gone. I'm traveling that whole week
okay,
from the 1st all the way to the 8th.
okay. Sounds okay. Sati, if you can make it, you're welcome to. I'll settle up the dates with you when the
Yeah, sure.
times and see who can come. So that's the plan number one. And I'll figure out who in town wants to come to that.
Okay, now I'm going to be very disappointed if he doesn't show up in cargo shorts.
He'll bike there from
All right. Yeah.
Cambridge or something. He's an avid biker. And anyway, so then the next part of his email was the Trail Summit that they held last year in Hopkinton. He's proposing they hold it in Southborough this year.
Where?
Hmm.
So he has proposed perhaps we could do it in Southborough and then do a little walk along the dam area, right? So
We don't have such a nice
I
lodge
know.
place.
I know he was thinking maybe Fayetteville Park at the gazebo. Right?
Yeah, that'll be a big open area.
Yep. So that's a potential place to have it. And then we do a little walk down and into the trail. So I don't know.
I mean, that does work. How many people were there?
Well, that's a community event. So that's like surrounding towns. I forget how many were there, maybe 30.
There were 30
All right, that can
30
easily
to
take care of 30
35.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's proposing it in August, and I have reached out to him separately without CCing the entire group to ask him this question. August is one of the busiest months for people to be gone. So if you really want people to show up, what about after Labor Day, early September instead as an option, right? Because a lot of people are gone in August. And so I just floated that idea to see what he thought.
Why not do it during the fall? Because that
I
will
know,
be a nice
October.
walk.
When it's beautiful and the leaves are turning. Yeah. So we'll see what he says, because I remember last year it was in August and I don't think we had much time. It was we heard about it last minute, but there will be some coordination and things. I don't think we'll have to do much as far as like setup and stuff, but we might want to provide refreshments and things like that. I have to figure out what the details are. I'm honestly we want to make sure we have a nice event. If we are hosting it, it would be the first time in Southborough, I think. So putting a little bit of effort into it to make, it be a good event is helpful. But I think MAPC does all the work as far as the planning of the, discussion and stuff. And basically what we did was each community kind of talked about how their trails were going and any
Yeah,
progress that they were
The
having.
one thing that that he did make use of was like a bulletin board or something, or a
Maps,
something
they have
to-
big maps.
yeah, they had big maps.
Yeah, so that's a good point. We could, yeah. Yeah, so that's actually an interesting concept of what he would do. He had them laid out on picnic tables, so
Or you could just
But
put
he-
a string from one pillar to another pillar and just have clips and hang up the maps on the clips.
you're smart.
that's
That's
true.
very smart. Very
I think we'd want to coordinate with him as to exactly what he would find most useful, right?
Yeah, and we could set up some pop-up tent, like a pop-up tent to extend the usable space. We might be able to have a 6-foot table or so with some chairs, maps in that way too. That's actually something we could consider doing.
Ask
I-
ask Tim Davis, how do you reserve the gazebo?
Yeah, so I did tell him, I think that there's a new reservation system in place for the gazebo because they're like renting it out for birthday parties. So we're gonna want to make sure we get our name on that list. So I did copy Tim on that, so we'll figure that out, but
We,
just something for us to consider.
Do we have enough parking near that location for
Right
people?
across the street, there's a parking lot next to
Okay.
the old,
Yeah, I'm curious about the construction. They did regrade that, which is so nice, and they are keeping
Ah.
parking because
You
there
can-
is significant parking there. I think David's pretty.
we can all park in Sati's driveway.
Yes, that's what I was about to.
Is there parking along the street though there if we had?
Yes.
Oh,
Most
okay.
of the
Okay.
people who come there, every day they park.
Oh, they do already.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What's this guy's name?
It's David Lautzenheiser.
Lautzenheiser, yeah, I have. it.
Lautzenheiser.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a senior transportation planner for Metropolitan Area Planning Council, MAPC.
Okay.
So it's not, it's a nice opportunity, and Southborough should feel, I think, happy
Yeah.
that it's coming here. Although I feel overwhelmed because
Is this the same guy we're going to walk the trails with on June 5th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he said he wanted to have a focus meeting on June 5th. And I was like, well, we're actually, and he wanted to walk the trail with the summit, but I was wondering if he wanted, and I actually took that as like, maybe we could have the meeting and walk the trail at the same time, like on the 5th, and then he could see the construction in progress. We could do a walk and talk rather than a sit around a table. It depends on the weather, I guess, but yeah, we'll figure out some of the details. I'll keep you posted on that, but.
Yeah, but I mean, that wouldn't be 30 people, right?
No, that's a small group, smaller
Small
group.
group,
And
yeah,
it
'cause-
actually, I would want to walk it with him and walk it with this smaller group, because if Karina comes, for example, I don't think she's seen the trail. Freddie knows the trail, but I don't know that she's, seen it up close. And if they're installing the fence and the gate, they'll be able to see that. And if wouldn't it be great if DPW were able to get the ADA parking in too? There'd be a lot to see.
And are we gonna like show him where the rest of the trail will be once the bridge is in and all that?
Yes, and I think what's interesting about the summit being here, and we do a trail walk, because you might remember, Will, that Sarkey, his name is, he's the conservation guy at in Southborough, I mean, in Framingham.
Mhm.
His name
Okay.
is Sarkissian. I'm not making that up. He's the Planning and Community Development Division Director of Planning and Community Development.
Sarkisian. I love it, man. That's awesome.
So Sark is his
Armenian
nickname. So
surname.
we met him last year, and I reached out to him to ask for, because we needed Framingham's support on the bridge. So if people in Framingham come, they will be able to see the bridge location and all of that. So more reason why getting these engineering quotes in place and having our ducks in a row to be able to say how we're going to accomplish this bridge project.
Yeah, but that only gives us next week basically to get our ducks in a row.
Well, not for the 5th. That Sarky would come if, for example, Framingham people would come to the August or September
The
meeting.
summit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the summit. Yeah. So that's kind of exciting. We'll see how that goes. Any questions, thoughts, or comments? Okay. All right. So next up, committee business related to maintenance, trail, butters, website policies, etc. So I'll start with not the website because there's some stuff I got to share, but I went by the shed and I unloaded the tools that we've purchased into the shed just to have it there. And I added an additional lock. I did learn that maybe I shouldn't. I'm not into carpentry. It's not my first skill set, but the lock is there. It's a little askew, but it works. The padlock. Okay. So we have a padlock and a door lock, and we wanted the additional locking mechanism just to ensure that it was secure. Now we need to put some frosted glass, Sati had the idea to put the frosted, how do I describe it?
Yeah, sheets on the glass. Yep.
Yeah. So you can't peer in and see what's going on.
And we've
And
got lights too, right?
Yes, I brought your lights. They're great. I have not
Right.
installed your lights though, because we need to have a decision about where we want to put those lights.
That sounds good with me. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's some tools that we need to put together. And so we need to have a work party where we all go to the shed and put our tools together. Like we've got the brush cutter, we got to put together the weed whacker and some of the other tools, the handheld saw thing. So if I figured someday after work, we could do that rather than a weekend, since weekends are really valuable in busy times. We're going to also have to consider trail maintenance shortly, get out and look at the trails. So we'll first do the work party, then we'll have to do some trail maintenance. Now, along those lines, we've got some budget to spend before June 30th. So we're going to need to, I need to get in touch with J&J and Son Mowing, and then coordinate with MWA, because if, we got a large quote from J&J that we wouldn't be able to pay for a complete mow, but perhaps they could do a partial mow, and this might be the time for them to see if they can do that, right?
This would be a partial mow on which trail?
Aqueduct Trail, well, it's
Okay.
the one off of Ward Road.
Right.
Right. We also need to replace a post on Ward Road, and we should use our current budget to buy the materials for that. And have any of you, I just recently used this new, instead of concrete, it's a foam concrete stuff that you just add water and it poofs. Have you guys used that?
No, but
No,
I have seen it on
Is it,
advertised.
How much weight can it take?
It's I'm not
They use
actually
it-
sure
They
what
use
it's,
it for decking and stuff, so I think it'll handle it
It's-
fine.
number one,
Okay.
it's so much lighter than carrying a 50-pound bag of concrete out to the wilderness.
Come on, you have muscles.
And it's amazing. We used it to put in a arbor in my backyard. You just have to anticipate how much it's going to expand above and beyond the ground, because it makes this bubble of foam. And then we just want to double check that the material it's used is safe for the ground and there's no leaching of weird chemicals and stuff before. So I might touch base with Melissa Danza just to make sure and give her the specs on that. So, but I propose that we use that, and we'll double check. I'm pretty sure it's strong enough to do what we need it to do, Will. So
Okay.
we
I
should
mean,
plan on,
if we could put that stuff in the shed, like I said, that I was gonna mention this, but it's probably good at this point. Like a couple of times when I go in the trail, I wish I had the key to the shed for that whacker, that whacker thing.
the weed whip. Yep.
whatever you call it, just to bring it with me and then return it afterwards.
Yeah, that's great. So that's a good point. Good segue too. So now we have two sets of keys. We have one for the padlock. I have two of those and I have two for the door, right? So I'm gonna get copies made and we're going to give a set to DPW, a set to Tim Davis, a set to me and one other Trails Committee member, so that if anyone gets hit by someone's gonna have the key, right? And I should finish that, hit by a bus is the phrase. So, so Tom, if you want that set of keys, we can do it that way.
Yeah, because there was a
Um,
couple of times if I had the key, I would have grabbed it and just
Yeah.
carried it over your shoulder and.
So we'll also need to start to look at organizing the shed and buying some things like that. So I wanted to ask the committee, are you comfortable if I do find some, like there was a select number of things that we wanted to get, like a gorilla cart that we had all looked at and agreed to some of the specs, a gorilla cart to pull heavy things, shelving for the shed. Are you comfortable with me making some of those purchases? I'll reach out to facilities with a list so that they can make the purchases through Home Depot and get the tax-free purchasing taken care of before the
Just
fiscal.
go right
Shelving,
ahead.
you mean shelving, the wood shelving or what kind of shelving?
Yeah, so I think have you the metal frames that you can put along the wood, and then you have the option to put the shelving anywhere you want. It's a long aluminum or metal. I'm losing words. It's a rack, right? Like so, but
Okay.
it gets attached. You screw it to the lumber, and then you end up putting a couple of elbows, and you put the shelf on top of the elbows,
Oh,
and you
yeah,
can
yeah.
move it up and down wherever you want it, right? So
Like it will have holes,
yes,
so you
yes.
can, okay, yeah.
So that's what I was thinking, and that would give us the most versatility to do that. So yeah, so I'll go ahead and make those purchases so that they're in this fiscal year. Some of it will be coming out of the ARPA bucket, some of it will be coming out of Trails Committee bucket. The other thing about Trails Committee money is as we start to think about Heritage Day this year, and I'm assuming we'll probably want another tent up and stuff. And you may remember our banner doesn't really fit on the pop-up tent. It's too long, right? It's too wide, lengthwise, not lengthwise, but it's too wide and you have to walk underneath it. So I think we will have enough budget to have another banner created that's going to be thinner. So that way it can just attach to the front of a tent without you having to bend under it. And the front piece is really the centerfold where you want that advertising. So
Okay, so it's too high, in other words,
too tall.
too
Yeah.
tall, too
Yeah.
tall. Length times,
Yeah.
tall, okay.
So last year, you remember we put the banner inside, which is okay, but you have nothing outside. So we can still use the existing banner, which is good, but we probably want to match them up and be consistent. So I've got to look at the old files from Dan Frank and see if they have a design file with the old banner. So it has some of the logo information or the way that it looks, it would be consistent look and feel, not looking to recreate it. So I think we can probably come up with something before next meeting and then talk about it before we pull any triggers, but I did want to just mention those two pieces. So that we would want to go ahead and schedule some mowing so that we can get some of the budget taken care of.
I guess
Now,
we can put the existing banner on the back of the,
yeah, like
and-
we did before. Yeah.
no, I don't mean inside, I mean on the outside as well. So people, when they're walking towards the place, could see trails.
Yes, we can do that. Okay, so there's a new website now, right? And last meeting, there was some concern and we had lost our domain name. That is now back. So basically our southburytrails.org is a domain name that we've always held, the committee held before we all started with it, and it redirects to the town website. So Will, you were talking a little bit about that redirection last time, right? So the website's technically still hosted with the town, it's all their website, but our URL redirects to point to the town website. That's the Trails Committee website. Okay.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is that I had a bunch of links that went directly to the committee web pages, and my old links got broken. I don't know exactly why.
Oh, that is interesting.
So you know, if there were links that would take you to Southborough Trails, that we used to have, well, now they've changed. So there's like the URL now has southboroughtown.com/618. I don't know what that is,
Oh,
/
right.
Trails Committee.
Yep, okay.
All right.
So-
And the old one used to take you more or less directly to Trails.
Okay.
So they changed the URLs.
Yeah, so luckily our URL is just southboroughtrails.org, and that's all you have to remember to type in, and it goes directly to our page, which is good.
Right.
And that's why we did that. So we didn't have that long southboroughtown.com / whatever else you want to have. So the news is, so I've been trained on doing some updates. It's a whole different animal to figure out. So it's going to take some while before we can do some updates. Our website looks different because their designers put together and transported the information over in the way that they felt like they needed to. So it looks different than it did. Pictures are there, but it's just, and we don't have any control over the banners on any of the pages that pop up, which is fine. Our news and announcements is missing from our homepage where it was before. So I've put a request into, I was talking with Jay, and that homepage is Mr. Hegarty's domain, because that's where you put the Trails Committee members and you put the charge. So we typically don't change that. So I have asked for that, our news and announcements, to come back and be put on that page, because it doesn't make sense for it to be buried on any other page except for the homepage, because that's where news and announcements go.
Did they faithfully transfer all of the pictures and things that you wanted?
I think I haven't done a 1-for-1. I'm going to look at your lovely pastes and copy and paste. So thank you for doing that, just to see.
Yeah, well,
first glance.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was web page photo or whatever, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's that. And then they may have changed your trail map page quite a bit.
That was changed quite a bit. That's what I'm referring to. And so
Yeah,
it may be something we work with. Yeah, but I just, I have to let that go for now, and we'll work with updates as we can get to them. This is the big deal. We had a distribution list of roughly 290 people. We no longer have that distribution list. That distribution list is gone. So
this would be notifications.
yeah, the news and announcements. So where people would go and sign up for your e-alerts, and they would go to Trails Committee, and I want to hear about news and announcements. Every time we went to a Heritage Day and we collected 36 or 50 signatures, we'd add them to the news and alerts. Those people are gone. So what we need to do is, luckily we have, it was just happenstance that we had a copy of that distribution list a few months back, maybe longer than that. So we'll miss some if they've signed up since then, but we have a good chunk of those names. So we can no longer, as a committee on Eventbrite, for example, say, hey, are you interested in signing up for e-alerts? Click yes, and then we go do it. We can no longer do that. For security purposes,
we can't sign people up.
we can't sign people up anymore. So for security reasons, the site requires you to create an account with an email and a password. And that's how you add yourself to e-alerts. It's a bit of a process. I went through it today, because then you have to receive an email, then you have to validate that you signed up for those. So it's a multiple step process with a validation code inserted in there for security purposes. So I asked if we could send a BCC to everybody on that list and say, hey, new website, you're no longer on the news and announcements for Trails, but you can still sign up for it. And this is how you do it. 1, 2, 3. The problem with that is I cannot send out of the town email a mass email of more than 5 or 10 at a time, because it will trigger a security alert that some phishing is happening in the account. So what I can do, and I can't do batches of 5 or 10 in the same day, I have to spread it out over 1 day at a time. So I will try to send a batch every day until I'm done with the 285 people, and send them out in batches of 10 and ask them to sign up again for Trails. That's going to be the best thing we can do. It's disappointing because we took 5 years to get that. I mean, I don't know what the list started with when we started, but it took a long time to grow that organically, one person at a time. It was really hard. So I feel like we're starting over from scratch, but it is where we are at.
Can we not do it in the Facebook, that distribution list?
We can on Facebook say, we can make a post and say, hey, there's a new website. And if you want to hear news and alerts through the email system, this is what you need to do. So yes, we can do that. But we won't reach everybody because some people are on e-alert because they don't do social media. So they're not on Facebook, like Will and Sati. You guys are not on Facebook, right?
No, we are not.
Yeah. So you would sign up for e-alerts. So
There was Tim Litt ran into a problem today. He was signed up, I believe, for e-alerts, and so he, expected that he would get an e-alert when the agenda, or let's say the date for the Public Accessibility Committee meeting was moved from today to tomorrow, and he did not get one. So I don't know what the resolution on that was.
had he signed up for the new e-alert system?
I believe he had, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they're still working out some glitches and such. And, the question was, why can't they just port over that list? It seems pretty straightforward, but, the back end, like I had mentioned earlier, it is 2 different systems, even though it's the same organization. They acquired another system that was built on a different platform that doesn't easily translate into the new platform. And even though they could port it over, they can't guarantee that if they port it over, that all the alerts are going to sign up for that person that they had signed up for. So they said it wasn't a solid.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at the Trails site, and I'm looking at an agenda for tonight, or no, for January 1st, January 3rd. And the thing that tickles me is that the text is sort of a light gray on white, and it looks like it's 10 point or maybe 12 point in this gigantic page. It's way over in the upper left hand corner.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like when you click on that little, but if you click on the other side, download and do PDF. Oh, wait a minute. That's weird. When you go download PDF from January 3rd, you get a blank page. You get a page that just said, let me show you. Why am I telling this? Hold on.
Well, I mean, if the point of the upgrade was to make it more accessible, I think the old one was easier to read, but that's just me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to take a little while. I know it took a lot of work to get to this point, and there's going to be some little things. So what I did was when I click on this is what I think you were referring to. It goes into the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah.
That weird thing, right? That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I click over here on download and I go download PDF and I get this page again, right?
But that's all you need to know. I mean, come on, why do you need information?
I thought I was downloading the agenda, right? So that's weird. And then at first I was like, well, where are the minutes? Because this says agenda center and I couldn't find the minutes. And then I didn't realize I was missing the forest for the trees, this column right here that says minutes. That's where the minutes are. So you click on that for the minutes. So once let's see, download PDF, and then I go to this link and then I get the real PDF. So a couple links long, it takes a couple clicks to get to stuff. So then let's go to the minutes and then we have the minutes. Okay.
Once again, I don't know these minutes that you're showing right now, the ones that you're bringing up, right?
Yeah.
Is that the original file that was on the old site, or have they done something to it?
No, that's the original file. Yeah.
Then I don't understand why, it's taking them so long to put the old minutes in, the old agendas in.
Yeah, I hope we go back 3 years and we weren't one of the committees they just said no on, because that's good history. So we'll wait and see.
I don't see how this upgrade makes it easier for citizens to be informed. Let's put it that way.
Well, I was concerned about that, but I was happy to see as soon as you go to the website, you're prompted to notify me. That pop-up box shows up, which is really good, because then people can but then it gets annoying because every time you come out and go into another page, it pops up. But I think I just made a suggestion that the town needs to be told that the e-alert system, like if you were signed up once before, you now need to sign up again. Like that needs to be really made explicit, because some people might assume that because they had signed up before, they don't have to sign up again. So I think that just needs to be made clear. But yeah, so we'll work on the Trails Committee page and figure it out over time. But I did want to shift gears quickly to, we wanted to talk about, what's it called? Benches,
Yes,
right? Okay, so are you guys seeing my screen? Because I think I
Yes,
shared
Mhm.
screen. Are you seeing benches?
yes,
Okay, great.
beautiful benches.
Right? Aren't they beautiful?
Yes, and you know, the Solve bench was very nice. It's along the lines of some of these.
Yeah, so this is a place, it's called Noble House and Garden. And
Mhm.
where are they located? I thought they were in, oh shoot, how are they in
Texas.
this? That can't be. I thought, hold on. I found a place local. Let me just see. All right, this place is in Norton, Massachusetts, right? But they don't give that, you have to submit a quote, submit for a quote. So it makes me a little nervous about what that means, but we can submit for a quote and see, because they're local and we can go pick it up versus having it delivered. So this style, how are you guys feeling about something like this? Simple, but stone in some way.
Looks good.
yeah,
Yeah, that, I mean, that would be fine. I guess the question is this, well, a couple questions. This just sits on the ground. This is not buried into the ground.
Right, it just sits on the ground. Yep.
And then the top, is it at all attached to the bottom? And if so, how?
I don't think that, well, we'll have to ask. I think everyone might be a little different, but I don't think it is. And our idea was it's gonna be heavy enough to not be able to, someone take it away. Right?
Yeah, but I mean, someone could knock it over, right?
Yep, they could if they, yeah, so we can keep an eye on it, but I got excited. I don't know why, how I got here and thought that this was local, but these benches were, somewhat reasonably priced when you get down here, like, not that one, 380 for this one, 380.
Oh, that's not
So,
bad at all.
yeah,
That's great.
495, but this is Texas, so that might be why, I don't know. Anyway, so something like this is what I kind of thought. And the other thing is, so let's go to this place. No, let's go here, no, here, here. Okay, yeah. So this place is, I think it's out west. And it's in this place called Goshen, Mass. Are you guys
Mhm.
familiar with that?
Mm-mm.
I personally have never heard of it. But they have they benches and pillars from $50 per linear foot under 6 feet. Anything over 6 feet is 75. So that sounded pretty reasonable. So I wanted to reach out to them tomorrow and find out if they have something. So they do a lot of stonework projects, but they also sell stone benches. So I wanted to find out if they had something that we could potentially buy. So that's an option. And then this other place in Charlton, Mass has, let's see, benches here. So they have some interesting, like, rugged looking, see what this looks like. So it's stacked stones, so that might, yeah. And then they have these other benches, like they have carved out a butt seat. Now I'm assuming that might be a little more money. But anyway, it was just an interesting thought, as a possible option if they were priced right. But again, I think we have to call to get some quotes and stuff.
Would
So
this, I mean, would they deliver?
delivery is usually a cost, so we'll figure that out. If it is costly, like I saw one place was, just under $300 that we could easily go make a trip out there and pick up a stone bench or something to save the dollars. I'd be happy.
Goshen is 100 miles away. And Norton is about 40.
Yeah, but isn't Goshen, isn't that out west, like past 91?
Yes,
And I
It's
like
way,
to-
it's a way out west. That's right.
south,
Yeah,
south of
so-
Route 2.
Yeah, I like to bike and kayak out there, so I would make a day of it. I would be fine doing that. I just
You
came
could-
from that way.
You could load it on your kayak and float down river.
Well, I did load a lot of stuff. I went kayak camping this weekend and didn't sink, but hit a lot of rocks.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it was pretty challenging. We saw a deer crossing the river too. It was
Did
cute.
did the deer have galoshes on or something to keep its feet dry or?
No,
Well,
poor little deer got wet. Okay, so we're good on that. Let's see. So now that I've reached out to DCR with the MOA and we'll get a date on that, I feel more comfortable asking them, hey, can we put a bench? And Sati, I think to your point, let's ask if we can put one in 9/11 at a location that, one of those locations. If we strike out there, we might be able to ask MWRA and see if we could do something along their property too. So we have a couple of options there. I think that is most of what we had. So I'll reach out about work party days and stuff like that and see. Oh, we didn't talk about interpretive signage. So Bella was supposed to do, she was going to be the point person for the interpretive signs for oak trees, for flora or fauna. And I reached out to say, would you be able to give me a quick reminder of what you're looking for in it? Okay, so I'll reach out to her and see if I can get her started. And then Sati, if you were going to focus on some history aspect and you had pulled some great information that might be useful for the phase 1 project signage, but having something else, we were going to do an interpretive sign somewhere else on the trail too. So at our next meeting, maybe we can talk about those two so we can get that rolling. And then we also have phase 1 signage that we need to discuss on the Peninsula Trail, which we'll do all next time. So if there's nothing else, can we schedule a time to meet again?
Yeah, I do have one question, which
Yes, please.
inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah.
What did you ever do with your solidified concrete?
Right, I left it out front and then my husband moved it and he hid it from me so I wouldn't put it back out front. The trash picker uppers did not pick it up. And so I'm not
behold.
opposed to thinking that they might become steps for our shed. Oh, which we can also purchase what's it called? Ramp for the shed, because it's just a little bit of a step up. So when you're pushing the motorcycle, when you're pushing the mower into the shed, you can pop it up, but a little ramp would be helpful there. So that's
Maybe
another thing.
Maybe they could become tie downs for our shed, in case of hurricanes or something.
Yeah. Well, the good news is our shed didn't leak with all the rain over the winter. I looked and made sure that it looks in good shape. So we can certainly house perhaps we can house the summit there. We can just let that be our.
Cram 30 people into the shed. Yeah, that would be good.
We'll serve drinks out of the windows because they're cute and they open up and they have little screens. Yeah. Okay.
People can sit on the tombstones. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So do we want to meet the second week in June? You're back from traveling, Tom, is that right? Because you're out the 5th.
Yes, I am out until the 8th.
Oh, okay, and actually, speaking of the 8th, I think that is the date that our next MPIC meeting is.
So we're talking about the week of June 12th.
Looks like it now.
Okay.
Yeah, give I think. Do you have her email up? I just don't want to double up on it.
Oh, hold on.
Sometimes my Outlook, it does not do the right job. It's supposed to pull up it. Okay, June 8th at 7 p.m. is our next meeting we stay away from. So how is Wednesday the 14th? Oh, I bet that's a
No, Wednesday's bad for me. What about the 15th, Thursday?
Yeah, let's do the 15th, because I think Wednesday is gonna be bad for me. So 6:15, 7:30 PM.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna need, we might have to do a work party without you, Tom. And to put some tools together and stuff. Sati and Will, would you be open to if I throw out some afternoons, like after work? And we can go to the shed and put some tools together?
It won't be a party without Tom, but yeah, okay.
Mm,
Yeah, I know. We'll save one for you, Tom. Just one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We should also come up with a maintenance plan, you know, some of the, like that chainsaw thing, it's not chainsaw, but the saw thing requires maintenance and requires some prep.
Do we have the right amount of fluids for it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I need to look at that. And the other thing is the batteries that I thought we had. The batteries, the WeWork batteries that we had for the blower and the initial weed whacker that was donated are not, they're 30 volt and they don't fit our new tools. So we purchased 2 batteries thinking that we had already 4 batteries, but we don't. So I think we need to purchase another set of 20 volts to fit the tools that we have. And it's okay, the 30s can still go for the weed whacker, but it's not gonna, they don't help our new tools. They don't fit. They're just a different style. So I have recognized that. And now they're all charged and they're at the, and they actually do hold a charge for a while. But if we ever did need the power tools, one of our steps would be like a day before someone needs to go to the shed, pull the tools out, you know, pull the batteries and charge them at home so that we're ready to use them at the site.
Or they could take them to the garden shed.
Oh, by the way, I
in Hill.
confirmed there is no electricity at that garden shed.
Oh,
They
okay.
don't have electricity. Yeah,
They did have a wire, no electricity. Yeah.
they have water because there's a spigot in there,
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
but no electricity. Yeah. So
Uh,
yeah. Okay, so we'll meet on the 15th at 7:30. Does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So be it.
Thank you, Tom, and a second.
Second,
Thank you, Will. Roll call. Satyendra Sharma,
Sorry, yes.
Tom McCuller,
Yes.
Will Warren,
yes.
Pat McKee. Adjourning at 8:48. Thank you all. Productive meeting. Appreciate your support.
Hey, let me tell you, I registered for the new town website. And I was, you know, the flash news, you figure it was at the Trails Committee page. It's not there. It's on the home page. At the bottom, there's a little icon that says notify me. And then you pick the stuff that you want to notify. So it was not intuitive. You got to go to the home page. There's nothing about trails when you register there.
But
Then
it's
you
so much easier than the old one, isn't it?
No.
I just did everything. So I registered. I think, Kat, you probably get a message from me. I said hello, but I did all the news flashes and stuff right now.
How would I get a message? Like, what does that mean?
I
I
don't
saw that. What does that mean?
I was on the our trails page on the town website. You can stop recording if you like.